theme of this concert is a concert based on the hurdy-gurdy and its music and its companion instruments. And the first piece was picked because its title is the Musette, and baroque music aficionados, especially French ones, might be familiar with the Rameau Musette, which this tune is heard in his harpsichord suite. And then later, it was in an opera that he wrote. And it may have been a popular tune, or it may have been a tune that he wrote. But the piece is more than just a title of a piece, the Musette. It's actually a musical instrument. It was also a dance, but primarily a musical instrument. So the piece is actually an imitation of the musical instrument and its style. And the Musette was a very popular instrument for the aristocracy and well-educated people, and even military people were playing this instrument in the 17th century, partly inspired by the French orchestra that Lully was putting together and bringing popular instruments into the French orchestra. And he brought the hurdy-gurdy, he brought the Musette, but the Musette was just having this large popularity of everybody playing it. And it was played by amateurs, and it was an instrument that represented the countryside and this pastoral music. And then going through the 17th century, by the 18th century, luthiers in Paris were noticing this popularity, and they were thinking, how can we cash in on this? So they got the idea to take the rustic, sort of peasant hurdy-gurdy, which was an instrument like this style from the 17th century, and refine it and make it an instrument also like the Musette and some of the other instruments like the oboes and the flutes that were getting very refined for the orchestra and for chamber music and for people to play. And so there was even this one luthier named Baton in Versailles who said, he wrote an article saying how in 1716 he got the idea to take the body of a baroque guitar and use it to make a hurdy-gurdy that would be very refined. He would make a new keyboard, and he actually made a new range so it would play at the same music as the Musette, and he would make it appeal to the wealthy people and the ladies, the people who would buy the instruments he decided, put figureheads on it like the viola da gamba, do inlays and pearl and ebony and ivory and all these decorations. And then he said, I presented it to the Queen, and she was very happy with it. She already was very passionate about the hurdy-gurdy, and it was a big success. And so the hurdy-gurdy follows the Musette in the way it works, and is designed to play and be interchangeable to the Musette. And so I think if Bruce can explain the Musette, how it works, I can then show you how the hurdy-gurdy comes out of that.
I've been playing the Musette for about 30 years, ever since Curtis so generously gave me my first Musette and challenged me to learn to play it, so we could play these beautiful duets that were specifically written for hurdy-gurdy and Musette. The Musette's a rather complicated bagpipe. It has lots of keys for sharps and flats, and it has not only the main chanter that the melody is played on, but it has a second chanter, the petit chalumeau, that extends the range up higher. And another unique feature is the drone system. Instead of drone pipes that normally go over the shoulder in a bagpipe, the Musette has a unique drone system that has 4 reeds inside, and the chambers go back and forth for different lengths, so we have different pitches for the drones. So I can show you what it looks like on the inside. So it has 4 reeds inside, and you can turn the drones on or off by these sliders, and they also tune the drones. And the Musette has a double reed, just like an oboe. And a unique feature of the Musette is its fingering for playing the Grand Chalumeau. It has a fingering system where you just raise one finger for each note, which is rather unique. And it allows you to play notes either long or short, which is one of the expressive capabilities of the Musette as a bagpipe that Lully really liked. So if I can play a scale that's slurred and then a scale that is played staccato, you can hear the difference. And I'll turn off all the drones. And then staccato. So that's the one expressive feature of the Musette, is to play notes long or short. The other unique feature of the Musette is, instead of blowing up the bag with the mouth, since ladies were allowed to play the Musette and they felt that it was uncouth to have something stuck in their mouth, blowing it up with their cheeks, they used this bellows to inflate the bag. So pumping the bellows inflates the bag, and then I just squeeze the bag under this arm.
Okay, now that Bruce has shown you how the Musette works, I can show you then how the hurdy-gurdy was designed to be interchangeable with it. So I say that one of the refinements was to make a keyboard that played in the key of C and G, the same keys that the Musette was playing in, so that when they made this instrument, there would already be all this music written that it could play, and it would have much more appeal. And the way this works, it has, just like the Musette, it has a melody or chanters in G, but instead of wind driving reeds, it's a wheel that is activating strings. And it has 2 melody strings here across the top that are being bowed by this wheel, which has been rosined just like you would rosin a violin bow. And then it has keys which play and give you the melody. Now, to that, just like the Musette, you add drones. So now I have drone. That accompany the melody, and the hurdy-gurdy has a unique feature. It has a rhythm. So when I give an impulse with my hand, it makes a little buzz. Separate from the melody. And that's this little bridge here that gives you that little rhythmic thing. And that's how the hurdy-gurdy works. Because of my interest in the hurdy-gurdy, the first thing was I found many old hurdy-gurdies in violin shops and musical instrument places, old ones from the 18th century that people weren't playing. And so all the instruments that I'm playing are actual instruments from the 18th century. Like this one of the main ones, and it was made by one of the masters of the hurdy-gurdy in the 18th century, Jean Louvet, and you can actually see the old handwritten label in the instrument. It says, made by Jean Louvet in Paris in 1747. And so all the instruments I play are basically contemporary to this one. But then, not only did I find old hurdy-gurdies, more recently I've been discovering old artwork, a lot of old paintings. So I have been able to collect a few I find in auctions and odd places. They sometimes fill in little gaps in the history, because mainly in this area not much is known, and there's no research because there's actually not that much interest. But I'm interested, and so I've been finding some interesting connections to the artwork and some of my instruments. I mean, one of the things was that I mentioned that this was very popular for the aristocracy and the other upper classes, and they like to have their pictures painted with their instruments. So in this case, I have these ladies with their instruments, a young boy with his instrument, and generally you find these things in an auction, nobody knows anything about them. So I found some interesting things. I mean, the most recent one, or one of the most recent ones, is this lady here with this painting. Very interesting. One of the things I found out about it was the hurdy-gurdy in the painting, I think, might actually be one of the ones I have. You see, it resembles it, and hurdy-gurdies are fairly distinctive and unique. But the thing about this is that this hurdy-gurdy has a mistake in it. It's a hurdy-gurdy from 1741, and the crank here is actually made backwards. If you look at it compared to this one, you see the little S is backwards on this one, which the reason you do that is because when you're playing it, your finger can get stuck if it's turned this way. So occasionally you run across a hurdy-gurdy that has its crank backwards, but it's rare. But these both have their cranks backwards, and they line up pretty well. So I think possibly that this is the hurdy-gurdy that's actually even in the painting. But you see, these were aristocratic ladies who loved their instruments. This one, I didn't know anything about the painting, and it was actually found in Italy when I talked to the dealer. But this hurdy-gurdy in the painting looks like it's the same type of hurdy-gurdy as this. Usually you see you have those C holes, and I have this one hurdy-gurdy that was made in Rouen, 1735, that has this style of round rosette. The same thing is in the painting, and you can see it even has the scroll violin end. And it's just very similar, again, in the same way. So I think, oh, well, that had some connection to Rouen. And so sometimes the hurdy-gurdies and things matching back and forth sort of reinforce the objects that you find. And one of the things about this music and all these things that make it thrive is the ability of either the luthier or the composer to earn money. And these composers were playing. They are not familiar to us today, but in France they were very popular. And they were able to write these pieces of music that people like this would pay money to buy the pieces of music, and that would support the composer. And just like the fanciness and the beautiful woods and everything would support the luthiers who were making the instruments. And so a lot of the music is, like that we're playing, might not be just concert music. Its primary purpose was to let the player really enjoy the music. And so part of this music is for the enjoyment of the person playing it, as well as people listening to it. But that was consideration. And there are different levels of the music, and the ones that the duets that me and Bruce have been doing are that type of made for the amateur. And there's still other levels of this music that are made for the virtuoso.
Bravissimo. Bravo. Bravo.